Call to the bullpen.
Flash! Ah!
Call to the bullpen. Bullpen.
Welcome, everyone. It is Call to the Bullpen. I am your co-host, Chasey B.
You mean not Freddie Mercury?
No, I am not Freddie Mercury.
Too soon.
In fact, I am Flash. You ever see that movie, Flash?
No, I actually...
You haven't seen the 1980s Flash film?
Is it bad that I know that reference
Flash
because of Blades of Glory and not the original Flash?
That is horrible, and I'm sure a lot of people hate you for that now.
Yeah.
But anyway...
Keeping it real, number one heel, 24/7, 365.
I am joined by Jared Silberclay and Austin Keeney.
That's me.
And we got a jam-packed review episode for you of Week 9.
We sure do. But before we get into that, we're just going to very briefly gloss over, really just to let you guys know that although the MLB season is over, we've still got your off-season winter hot stove covered with all the off-season moves, free agent signings, and trades and whatnot. So right now, nothing as far as major player moves. I mean, Clayton Kershaw was just locked up by the Dodgers, so he won't be the top free agent pitcher on the market. That slot now belongs to Patrick Corbin because the Diamondbacks are very unlikely.
Darren Corbin?
No, Patrick.
I like that.
Patrick Corbin, who the Diamondbacks are very unlikely to retain, and of course Bryce Harper and Manny Machado are the top position players available.
JD Martinez? Who's also a free agent.
Also free, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. The guy that really helped the Red Sox win the World Series is also available.
Well, apparently the
small note.
Mildly important.
Well,
apparently...
That's like the mild sauce at Taco Bell. It's not super hot. It's actually kind of Diablo.
Super hot fire?
Yeah, super hot fire.
Well, surprisingly, the BBWA writers decided that he wasn't worthy of being an AL MVP finalist, even though, despite not playing the field, his offensive numbers were off the charts this season. But
I mean, yeah, if you're going to be a most valued player, in my opinion, and this isn't me being a Yankee fan and being salty that the Red Sox won, you probably should play the field if you're going to win the MVP.
Yeah, but if you're not going to play the field, then the least you could do is absolutely blow everybody else out of the water in almost every other statistical category. And although he didn't have the league lead in batting average, he was really close. And he smoked everyone in home runs, smoked everyone in RBI. So I think he deserved to be a finalist. I mean, for my money, him and Mookie were the two best hitters in the AL this year by far.
And Mookie played a ridiculous outfield.
Well, yeah, that's what's going to...
So, is there really even a point of putting JD in there when you know Mookie is obviously ahead of him?
Well, it's because Mookie missed some time, and JD anchored that lineup all year long.
Either way, I don't think he should have been a finalist. I think he had a great year, but for a most valued player, I would say... maybe a Silver Slugger award kind of statistic, but, most valued player needs to be an overall player. You don't see a Glenn Allen Hill of the old days being a most valued player, even though he was a great player and a great pinch hitter and a DH. He didn't do anything else other than just hit the hell out of the ball. So, I understand where you're coming from, but I definitely don't think he should have been an MVP candidate.
Yeah, well, it seems to me with these finalists that they didn't want to put players from the same team. They didn't want to put multiple players from the same team as a finalist.
Which is also fair.
In any category. Well, it sounds fair on paper, but at the same time, see, here's where I have a bone to pick. Because, so in the AL Cy Young race, Blake Snell, record-wise, ERA-wise, looks like he had a phenomenal season. He did have a very good season. He had 21-5 record with a 1.89 ERA, but that was only through 180 innings. And Garrett Cole, because he technically was the second best pitcher on the Astros, even though he smoked everyone else but his teammate Justin Verlander in strikeouts this year, to me, he was the second best pitcher in the AL this year behind Verlander. Although this year's Cy Young race would have been potentially an even tighter race if you had Severino fall off in the second half of the year. You had Trevor Bauer and Chris Sale, who are both having unbelievable seasons. They both had injuries in the second half, so even take those three out of the equation, you still have a 3-horse race between Verlander, Kluber, and Snell, but it could have been even tighter because the starting pitching, was really the key to a lot of the contenders jumping ahead, because that's a big reason why in the first half of the season we saw those AL contenders emerge, and the playoff race pretty much stayed with the same 5 teams in the mix all season long. We kind of knew who was going there in June. It was because of the pitching.
Very much so, and you saw teams make moves for their pitching rotation at the trade deadline, and especially the world champion Boston Red Sox. They went out of their way to get guys that they knew were going to help them. Like Eovaldi, who ended up having a great second half or fourth quarter, if you will, to the season. And he
provided
really,
that back end help for sure.
Correct, exactly, and they brought that depth on to their team. The Yankees tried. I don't think they brought I don't want to say the right guys. They definitely brought guys that help, but the Red Sox just really had the depth, and some other teams tried to bring bigger name guys on to really help with that depth and with that late postseason run. But yeah, you're 100% right. The starting pitching was really the reason a lot of these teams made it as far as they did late into the season and into the playoffs.
Switching gears over to the NL, in the NL MVP race, we've got Christian Yelich is pretty much the favorite here, and in the Cy Young race, it's been a kind of a topic of discussion that if Jacob deGrom loses out on this award purely because of his 10-9 record, because he got the worst run support of any marquee starting pitcher in recent memory, it's going to be a travesty because apart from the record, the rest of his numbers were phenomenal this season. 217 innings pitched with 269 strikeouts, a .91 whip, and a 1.70 ERA. I mean, that's insane. To me, you can't judge the days of judging pitchers on win-loss records are over with, because this year proved with deGrom that it's almost entirely contingent on run support. The fact that they said that if he averaged 2 runs of support per start, he would have won 20 games.
Minimum, and we said that from the beginning. I mean, I remember me and you being at a Mets game very early in the season and talking about this at the game, and the fact that deGrom is, in fact, and I firmly believe, the best, if not top 3 pitcher in the entire major leagues, and he's irrelevant because he's on the Mets, who literally can't score more than I don't want to say a run and a half per game, because that's not actual run there. That's not an actual number in the world of baseball, but on paper, he only averaged under 2 runs per game as support, and I don't care who you are. Nolan Ryan gave up more than 2 runs in games that he pitched, and he is considered one of the best pitchers of all time. I mean, it's impossible to shut out every single team, every single game, and the fact that deGrom has as little wins as he does because he plays on a horrendous team in a horrendous lineup like the Mets, who literally can't score runs to save their lives.
Well, we talk about it being hard to do that every night out, but here's a number for you for deGrom. This season, 18 starts, so most of his starts, 18 starts, at least 6 innings, and 1 or 0 earned runs.
Exactly, which is why his ERA was minimal.
Yeah.
And yet he's not even considered because he's on the Mets. Because he didn't have the run support. Because he didn't have the wins.
He is being considered.
Odds that he wins.
I think that they're pretty good.
I don't know.
I think they're really good.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think the numbers are strong. I think the Cy Young has proven to be a Pitcher of the Year award, whereas the MVP award, you kind of have to play for a contender because it's most valuable, aka vital to the team's success. But I think the Cy Young award has been like a Pitcher of the Year, which I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's what it should be. It should represent the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, I've said this, from months ago when we were talking about this, that deGrom should win it. And, I can remember conversations that me and you had that deGrom is one of the better pitchers. And, I said this when the Yankees were trying to get a deGrom or a Syndergaard from the Mets.
You're not going to be able to get him for chump change.
Correct. And that, listening to Frances on the radio and everybody's calling in, let's give him, a rosin bag and a bucket of double bubble for deGrom. That's not a thing. He's a guy that gives up 1 or less runs per game. You can't give him nothing, but, fans of teams want to give nothing for the best because that's just how teams are when they don't think of the other side of the equation. Why are the Mets going to give up a pitcher like that for nothing? Unfortunately, if he wants to get out of there as fast as possible, maybe they'll make an exception to make him happy, but even then, they're just screwing themselves over by giving nothing for one of the best pitchers in the league.
Oh, sure. Teams only really make that, jump when it's a contractual situation where they're looking to unload a big money deal, but because they're not paying deGrom a ton at this stage, they're not that desperate, so they're the ones with the keys to the kingdom. So, it'll be interesting to see how the offseason situation unfolds, as well as the award, the doling out of the awards, and we'll be sure to have that recap once those winners are announced.
We're going to keep on top of baseball, so don't think that with the season being over, this is, it for Call to the Bullpen talking about baseball. Most likely what's going to happen, just as a heads up and what our heads are thinking, is we'll release shorter episodes on breaking news, statuses, and updates along the free agency market, which managers going here, who got fired, what coach is doing this, things like that. We'll talk about some of that stuff in our normal episodes, but with the NFL season and the playoff race really heating up, most of our time is going to be dedicated towards the NFL season and just that, the playoff race heating up. So don't think that this is the end until baseball season comes back around. With the winter meetings and all that kind of stuff, we're going to continue to talk about baseball in maybe shorter bonus episodes, audio clips, if you will, maybe 20-minute, half-hour episodes talking about those specific things. So, keep in touch with us along the baseball free agency news and headlines. Let us know who you think is going to go where. We made a post today to play The Bryce is Right on our Instagram and Facebook page, and also our Twitter, and let us know where you think Bryce Harper, who is one of the top free agents, is going to go, and for how much, hence the Bryce is Right. Let us know what contract you think he's going to get, what team he's going to end up on, and also Machado and guys that we talked about in the last few minutes of this little baseball segment. All right, so we are going to segue into our NFL Week 9 review for the Week 9 season. And Jared, why don't you kick us off with the Raiders and the 49ers, because this was such an exhilarating game between two absolutely atrocious football teams.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see weird things happen with these Thursday night games, and this week's edition of that was a rookie quarterback just completely having his way with a battered and exposed and just flat out waiting for next season defense. The Raiders have pretty much the worst defense in the NFL at this point, and
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
I think this game sealed it, didn't it?
Raiders have the worst team in the NFL. Period. Worse than your Giants.
I was going to say, don't forget the Giants still exist, Chase.
They are so much
they're
worse.
horrendous.
They are worse than the Giants, because the Giants at least have something resembling a defense. The Raiders do not. They can't cover anybody, and that's why they allowed this flawless 16 of 22, 262, 3-touchdown performance from Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins. Hold on. Just to specify, I picked the 49ers to win this game, and I'm owning up to it. Before this game, Nick Mullins was announced as the starter, 2-3 hours before. I changed my pick to the Raiders because Nick Mullins, who was an undrafted free agent, had never thrown a football on an NFL field during a live football game, was going to start this game against a Raiders team with not a lot going for them, but still, I thought in this situation, being the 49ers of who they are, also not having anything going for them, the Raiders really had a shot with Nick Mullins on the field.
To get their team back on track.
And this is a team that
like Derek Carr, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but Derek Carr, you got to come out and do something. I mean, you got shown up by a guy who's never thrown a football in his NFL career. He had never been on a field and thrown a football in the NFL, and you got absolutely smoked by this dude.
Well, Carr wasn't the reason they lost.
Yeah, it wasn't on.
But he didn't help.
No, he did fine. He had
171 yards and nothing else.
Yeah, 16 of 21.
They took him out. They took him out after the third quarter too. It was.
So we had 3 quarters to do.
Blame their defense for getting.
Blame everybody on the entire team. Blame John Gruden. Fire everybody. Sell the team. Break the stadium down.
That is what is happening.
I know. Screw John Gruden too.
They're turning it. They're going from the Oakland Raiders to the Las Vegas Grudens. That's what's happening here. That's what's unfolding. It's all part of the plan. It's their plan.
Stick to the plan. Believe.
No, I mean,
believe in the plan.
There's a plan going
on. There's no plan anymore. This is a joke.
It's a secret plan between the Raiders.
Johnny Manziel probably has a better record in the freaking CFL than the Raiders do in the NFL. I mean, this is bad. In props to Nick Mullins, that kid showed up and Just laid it out on the table, man. I mean, he started the game fired up and led them to a absurd win over a bottom-feeding, bottom-of-the-barrel, irrelevant, shouldn't even be a franchise anymore, Oakland Raiders. Yeah. I'm sorry, Las whatever Raiders.
Well, you know, Las Vegas Raiders. No, it's still Oakland.
7 Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
7 loss.
There you go. But you know what this is? A couple years ago, I guess it was more than a couple years ago. It's probably like 10 years ago now. There was a guy who came in for the Packers by the name of Matt Flynn and just threw like 10 touchdowns in 2 games.
One game. It was one game. It was week 17 against the freaking Detroit Lions, and that game got him it got him paid because people thought, "Oh, he's been in the Green Bay system. He must be just as good as Aaron Rodgers, right?"
Right. So now what do you think's going to happen? Nick Mullins is about to get paid, and he's going to play backup for the rest of his life. I'm sorry, but this is not a breakout game for Nick Mullins.
Fun fact, everybody, Nick Mullins became verified on Twitter during the
game. I saw that.
That's brilliant.
Yes, correct. I mean, listen, great for him, and Chase, I agree with you 100%. I don't think he's going to break out and be a franchise quarterback for, the Eagles for time to come. I don't want to.
I don't know why you chose the Eagles there, but I understand your point.
I just threw a dart, honestly, and that's what came to mind.
Sure.
I had the Seahawks in mind, but I don't know. It just didn't roll off the tongue very easily. You're right. I don't think he's going to break out and be that franchise quarterback or that Aaron Rodgers that, this stat line shows that he could be. He played the Raiders. So let's not take anything away from him throwing the game that he threw. But he played the Raiders. Had he started this game against, I don't know, the Rams, the Chiefs, even the Baltimore Ravens, I don't even want to say that because that just makes me angry, but a better defense other than the Raiders, I don't think he would have had the game that he did.
Yep,
absolutely.
It's fair, and it caught him napping on a Thursday, too. So with that win, the Niners, they go to 2-7. The Raiders are 1-7. And we all makes me angry. We all went with the Raiders. We all got it wrong, and we got it very wrong. But now we're moving on to Sunday action with games that actually mattered to the playoff race. We're starting off with a big AFC North divisional battle between the Steelers and the Ravens, and this game, to me, this was more so the Ravens blowing it. I think that it was their game to lose, and that's what happened. Joe Flacco missed a wide-open Lamar Jackson in the end zone. You had a critical drop.
Lamar Jackson was standing out there doing jumping jacks before anybody saw them.
Yep. But that wasn't the only missed opportunity. The Ravens, they were replaying just before the end of the game. They had about 2 or 3 critical missed red zone opportunities, and you wind up losing the game by 7 points. They got the ball back within the final minute, but time ran out for a rally. And, they just a lot of missed opportunities for Baltimore in this game. And this was a game that they couldn't afford to lose to stay alive in the division race. They didn't make it happen. And the Steelers continue to experience success in the absence of Le'Veon Bell.
I disagree with one point in that you think that the Ravens lost this game. I think the Steelers are just proving that they're getting their team on the right track and that they're the better team. I think that kind of like with the Dolphins, we got too quick on the bandwagon for the Ravens when they got off to a hot start. I think that
I didn't.
Yes, you're right.
Just saying, I didn't.
I think that they're proving to be just another 9-7 team or 8-8 team like they usually have been, and that's why Harbaugh is going to be under a lot of criticism.
Oh, he already is. Yep. There's articles out there that he's under a lot of pressure, and that I don't even want to go as far as saying he might not make it through the bye week because I think that he will. No. Listen,
he'll make it through the season.
Correct. There are articles and, if you will, experts that are saying that he may not make it through the bye week. I don't think it's true at all. I was just throwing the headline out there. I don't think he's going to be the coach of the Ravens next season, really.
It's playoff or he's out, in my opinion.
Correct, which I don't think they'll make the playoffs at all.
I'm not going to completely rule them out of the playoff race because I think that the 6th seed in the AFC is very much anybody's ballgame at this point because the Dolphins are currently leading the race and they've still got Osweiler as the quarterback. And if they were playing any team other than the Jets, they would have lost this week. So we'll get to that game. On top of that, you're talking about the Ravens. The Ravens, this was going to be a crossroads season for them. It's either Joe Flacco's last hurrah. We're going to try it because they made the free agent additions in the offseason, but they also drafted Lamar Jackson in the first round. So what that means is we're either making one last run at the playoffs, see if we can get something in the Flacco era, or this is going to turn into an experiment. So I think that especially if Flacco has another poor performance next week or something like that, you could, I'm going to give it maybe 2 to 3 more weeks. You could see Lamar Jackson getting some starts in December if the Ravens season really spirals out of control. And it is disappointing because this team started off great. They've always been a really great defensive team, very well-coached defensive unit. But if you're moving the ball, you got to finish drives. And to me, that's what happened here. I mean, the Steelers, they're starting to get right. They're getting in their groove. But the Ravens, they showed the capacity to get it going but couldn't pulled the trigger when they needed to.
Jared, this is music to my ears. You know why? Because you keep saying that I'm wrong, that Joe Flacco is not a fluke. This is music to my ears. Really. It's just making me so happy.
Well, the proof is in the pudding.
Yep, and
by the way,
Joe Flacco's proven it, baby.
The proof would also be in the 10 playoff wins. The fact that the Ravens... He made it to the AFC Championship game in 3 of his first 4 seasons.
You know who else made it to the AFC Championship game? Mark Sanchez. So,
Did he win a Super Bowl? Did he win a Super Bowl?
With that one, we're on to the next game.
Yep.
All right.
In such a great game at the Bears at the Bills.
Oh, baby, this was nice. You know what? Some things in life you can just always count on. The sun is going to rise.
The grass is going to be green.
The seasons will change.
And Nathan Peterman will throw a lot of interceptions.
And that's what exactly happened during this game against a good Bears defense. There was no chance from the start. Nobody is shocked by this outcome.
Absolutely
I think there was... Two pick sixes.
There was one point in this game where the Bills had 3 consecutive drives that ended with turnovers.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do if you're the Bills? Do you even keep this guy as your backup quarterback? I mean, honestly, because a backup quarterback's supposed to fill in for your team.
Who are you going to have him start?
No, I'm saying, after the season.
Oh, after the season. All right, fine. Because I was going to say, this week, what do you do?
Did anyone catch E.J. Manuel on... I think it was Twitter or Instagram. He posted, I don't really complain about my situation with the Bills publicly, but it's a shame that this guy has multiple 4 interception games as a starting job in this league, and I don't have a job.
He's absolutely right.
He's right.
He's absolutely right. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what they're thinking.
Maybe. I mean, hell, I said Johnny Manziel's in the CFL before. Bring him back.
Has Manziel ever had performances like this?
And Tebow's in Double-A with the Mets. I'm sure he'd throw a better game than Nathan.
What did I say?
If Tim Tebow comes back, oh my God.
But I mean, come on. I'm sorry, and I know I'm being a little absurd here, but
But are you? Are you being? I completely agree.
We're talking about Nathan Peterman still having a starting job.
This is pretty unjustifiable.
When there are guys that can and want to play football not playing football. Tim Tebow is not that bad of a quarterback.
What if we bring up the most controversial name?
Not even talking about it. Just
all I'm going to say is that in his collusion case that I don't necessarily agree with, he should pretty much just show them, Exhibit A, Nathan Peterman game film.
Correct.
And for all those who don't know what we're talking about Colin Kaepernick.
Correct. We're not getting into any politics on this show. Zero politics ever.
But you can say he's a better quarterback than Nathan Peterman, right? You can't say that?
Statistically, yes.
He'd probably throw less interceptions.
On paper, football, statistically, yes. 100% a better quarterback than Nathan Peterman.
All right.
We're going to move on from here because the Bears and the Bills game is irrelevant.
It was a riot.
It was 41-9 for those who didn't watch. And seeing as, the Bills are the Bills, we all had the Bears in this
Funniest home videos.
Yeah, I mean, they might host it at this point.
Yeah. Another laughable game.
Exactly. Jets at the Dolphins.
The Jets at the Dolphins. This game was pretty much a disgrace to everything that offensive football stands for.
I will defend them in the slightest in saying that the field that they were playing on was an absolute mud bath.
Yeah, it was the classic, like when it gets hot, humid, sticky, and nasty and muggy in Florida, and it just turns into the mud bowl.
Well, yeah, and they had a torrential rain the day before during the college game, so it was still very much overflown, and they probably shouldn't have even had the game, to be honest. But that's what's going to happen. Is we're going to get a 13-6 game in that. And did we learn anything about these teams? Not really. Nothing that we didn't know before.
We didn't. Unfortunately, I mean, this is the point where everyone's going to be like, oh, enough with Sam Darnold. I've seen enough, blah, blah, blah. But, like, listen, guys, there have been a lot of successful quarterbacks in this league that have thrown a lot of interceptions, especially early in their career. I will point to Peyton Manning. I will point to Brett Favre, Dan Marino. Eli Manning, early in his career, his rookie year was horrible.
He still throws a lot of interceptions.
A lot of these guys. And guess what? You know what? Sam Darnold might turn out to be like a Brett Favre who throws 15 to 20 picks maybe more often than not. But if he's also throwing the ball downfield heavily and still getting the yardage, still getting touchdowns, the guy is going to get better. But that being said, maybe the Jets need to give him a breather for a week. You know, the bye week's coming up. Maybe you rest him for a start just to let him clear his head a little bit. But I think overall, they've been doing the right thing and throwing him into the fire. But it is kind of demoralizing to keep getting intercepted like this.
I think that he's just going to have to learn on the fire, unfortunately. I think that he will improve from these, and the Jets just got to take it for what it is. It's a building year.
It is, yeah, no doubt.
So we all had the Jets there, and we were all wrong.
Game that we were not all wrong about was the Chiefs at the Browns. The Chiefs beat the Browns 37-21.
And what else is new? Patrick Mahomes throws for 4 or 3 touchdowns. What is it? 1, 2, 3. Where is it? 3 touchdowns
and an interception.
375
yards. Just also, a notable point. I also beat Jared again in fantasy football.
Only by 18 points, considering what and two of my premier players are Joe Mixon and Saquon Barkley, who are both on buys. I think I did okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Did I win?
Austin, I would like to see your team when the Chiefs go on by.
I have Matt Ryan as backup quarterback, and he's doing just fine.
Who's your running back?
Everybody that's in right now.
Yeah,
which is Kareem Hunt.
And Tyreek Hill is also gone.
Yeah, you didn't have to mine the free agency for Isaiah Crowell because he was the best option available.
That's not true.
The Jets did not score a touchdown.
Nick Chubb is on my bench, and he still ran better than Adrian Peterson. So
yeah, you should probably start Nick Chubb. He's pretty good.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, we're going to talk about the game next.
Correct.
So the Chiefs and the Browns, hold on. Let's give the Browns some credit. They hung in there with the Chiefs as long as they could. In the second half of this game, it started to get away from them. They just couldn't keep up with the offensive output of Kansas City. But you could see that this Browns team, again, they're totally not there yet this year. But there is a lot of talent, a lot more talent than we've been used to seeing on this team. Baker Mayfield did the best he could, and he had them within reach by the end of the first half.
I mean, listen, he really didn't play that bad of a game. He threw for 300 yards, almost, a few shy, 2 touchdowns and an interception. So, I mean, really, it wasn't the worst game in the Browns quarterback history.
There were moments here. There were moments in the first half where it looked like the Chiefs were just going to smoke them and go up by 3 scores early, and the Browns, they had multiple drives where they fought their way back into it, and again, kept the game within reach longer than people expected.
Yeah, I mean, they looked fine. They didn't get blown out. What are you going to do? It's a building year for the Browns, too. I think that, maybe a couple more games you'll see Nick Chubb start to get going. Actually, Nick Chubb did kind of get going, 85 yards and a touchdown. But there's the outlier there. Their best receiver is Duke Johnson. They need somebody like Jarvis Landry to step up.
Sure, no doubt. And with their head coaching crisis right now, it's worth noting that Bruce Arians said the one team he'd consider coming out of retirement for is the Browns. I think he'd be great for that team.
Fun statistic, when he was the offensive coordinator for the Browns in 2002, that was the last time they made the playoffs. Just saying.
Go figure.
So, you never know. Bruce Arians.
Writing's on the wall, guys.
Bruce Arians, 2-time coach of the year, I believe, if I'm correct.
He did, yeah.
Something along those lines, 2-time coach of the year, might come back to be the coach of the Browns, which is right now the only guaranteed coaching position to be open at the end of the season. So,
true that.
I mean, that's a lot of steps in the right direction. So we'll see how that goes for the rest of the season and next year for the Browns. We all had the Chiefs in that one. Again, Chiefs won 37-21. We're gonna move on to the Falcons and the Redskins.
Let me take the reins on this one. I've been telling everyone all season that the Redskins are a ticking time bomb, they're an accident waiting to happen, and a performance like this was inevitable. What happened in this game? They got completely outclassed by a superior offense. That offense went up early. What happened when they went up early? They completely abandoned the run. They abandoned the Adrian Peterson Renaissance experiment, and they just had Alex Smith sling it. And go figure, Alex Smith can't keep up with Matt Ryan, one of the league's best quarterbacks. And they got utterly blown out at home. So much for that whole dome team and the cold thing, huh? That just goes to show the Redskins are they're not good enough to hang with the big dogs. I'm sorry. When
the big dog.
Well, you said it just there. They let them get out in front early, and then they had to climb back. They're not going to win games like that. They have to keep teams under and close so they can rely on Adrian Peterson. Once you let up 2-3 scores early in the first half, it's not going to work for a team that's built like this.
They have to dictate the pace. They have to win this game with the running game and defense. And when they get down early to a team that's slinging it and Alex Smith has to keep up, he can't do it. Especially not, and now they've lost both of their starting guards. They've lost Paul Richardson. So this offense is now completely depleted. You're giving even less support for a limited Alex Smith.
Correct, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in our preview episode coming up very soon. However, just as a heads up, the Redskins did lose 2 of their starting offensive linemen, and they just signed 2 random guys. Honestly, I can't even remember the names. Austin Jackson or something like that. I have absolutely no idea. Austin Jackson's a baseball player.
Some guy that's going to be giving up a lot of sacks.
Exactly. So just as a heads up, if you're a Falcons fan, a Redskins fan, or following them throughout the season, we'll again, like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit more in our preview episode. But again, the Falcons did win this one 38-14,
and their season's still alive. 4-4.
Their season's still alive, 4-4, and there's definitely
and they were 1-4. So
correct. There's some room for improvement, but that's called the winning streak, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see how long the Falcons can keep this one going. Jared actually had the Falcons in this one. Chase and myself had the Redskins. So we will drop a game. We'll let you know what our final tallies are at the end of our episode here. Going into a game that we all picked up a win, the Vikings took a win from the Lions at 24-9.
Yeah, Vikings took care of business here. They looked pretty good. Lions are they've always been this team we are disappointed with. They couldn't really bounce back with dealing with the loss of Golden Tate. Their offense looked very stagnant. Vikings look good. Vikings look like they're going to take the division with the falling Packers, and you think the Bears are going to take it?
I got some faith in the Bears.
Oh, come on, it's Mitch Trubisky.
Look at the defense. They
played the Bills.
Yeah, and Khalil Mack's hurt.
They
should have beaten the Packers earlier this season. They're still in first place. Imagine if they closed the door when they had a 3-score lead.
They beat the Bills.
So, is it Vikings-Bears this week? I think it is, right?
Nope, it's Bears-Lions this week.
Oh, Bears-Lions this week.
The game is coming soon.
I was going to say, Vikings-Bears, it's Vikings all the way.
I wouldn't say so. I think that the Vikings...
Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs.
Cousins...
Dalvin Cook is getting healthy.
Listen,
Kirk Cousins.
Dalvin
the defense
Cook,
is looking...
Dalvin Cook proved that he's healthy with a ridiculous 75-yard run.
Absolutely. The defense is looking so much better the last couple weeks. I mean, they look like the team that we thought they were before the season started.
Yeah, but the Bears' defense has been just as filthy, and they force turnovers.
Agreed. I just don't think the offense can keep up.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they play turnover-free ball, it's absolutely advantage Vikings in that matchup. And going back to this game, this was finally the defensive performance that Minnesota's been looking for this season. Danielle Hunter went off with 3.5 sacks. They had 10 overall on Stafford. They were pressuring him at will. They were cutting through that offensive line like butter. And yeah, Dalvin Cook ripping that huge run early in the game. And, Cousins didn't have to do a heck of a whole lot, but made the plays when he needed to. And the Lions, they just kept getting stopped. This was fine. And here, this is an offense that even without Golden Tate there were times where Galladay would get open and Stafford wasn't able to connect with him. So this was a very encouraging performance from a Minnesota defense that most would say, people all season been saying, where's the dominant Vikings defense from last season? This was the type of performance that strikes fear into the heart of opposing offenses.
Absolutely. With that, we all had the Vikings, so we all pick up a win there. Next up is going to be Fitzmagic versus the Panthers, and by God, he almost had it.
We got to give Fitzpatrick a lot of credit for rallying this team to 3 consecutive scores when they went down 35-7 in this game.
Their defense just wasn't enough. I mean, and they almost had it. We were talking about this as it was happening, and I had the Panthers to win this not only in our pick'em, pool, if you will, for ourselves, but also in a one for a little bit of monetary value. I was a little scared, to be completely honest.
It was 35-7 going into the fourth or late in the third, and
that was in the second quarter.
Late, so okay, but he started scoring in the third quarter.
Yeah,
anyway,
it was 35-14.
Fitzpatrick throws for 4 touchdowns, bring it back to 28-35, and all of a sudden the Panthers fans are sweating.
I was sweating. I'm not even a Panthers fan.
Not only did he rally them, but he rallied them in a pretty timely fashion because here's the thing. I don't want to discredit them for not finishing what would have been an unbelievable comeback, but all I'm going to say is there was plenty of time to complete this rally because when they got to within 7 points, the fourth quarter had just started. There was still a lot of time to get that extra touchdown.
Yeah, but then they let up a big play. I don't know if I believe that was when they did that reverse play to Coleman. Or Curtis Samuel, I'm sorry.
Right.
And so I think that was kind of deflating for them. You're letting up 42 points. You're not going to win a lot of games.
Well, and then on the ensuing drive, Fitzpatrick got picked off, so that ended the game right
there. He tried to bring him back. He tried to do a little bit too much there. But it's definitely on the defense for not keeping the Panthers under 42 points.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a lot for a Buccaneers team to try to overcome. I mean,
absolutely.
42 points is hard for anybody to overcome.
Yeah, Chase, that double reverse actually came earlier in the game when the Panthers were building that 28-point lead with Samuel having a 100% Sports Center play all the way with that double reverse running all the way across the field. I think that they did the math and showed that he actually covered over 100 yards of field with all the crisscross running he was doing. It was pretty amazing because he starts off going to the left, cuts back all the way to the right corner, finishes it for the touchdown. It was one of the better plays.
It was like a Devin Hester punt return.
It was one of the better offensive plays that I've seen all year. Really creative from Carolina, and I mean it's innovative plays like that on offense. Why they're 6-2 right now.
Yeah, definitely, a big win for the Panthers, who are really trying to push towards that playoff race coming up in just a few weeks. They are now 6-2. The Buccaneers dropped to 3-5. Chase, you had the Bucs in this one, so you're actually going to pick up an L. Jared and myself take a W. We're going to move on to a game that hits Chase a little bit harder.
This would hit you pretty hard, wouldn't it?
Well, this is the moment when I realize it's full tank mode.
That all hope is lost?
Yes, because...
Yeah, we're talking about the Broncos and the Texans, if anybody's wondering.
Yeah, because a win here would have put us at 4-5, and you win 5 out of the next 6 games. You go to... Or 5 out of the next 6 games. You go to 9-7, 9-6. So
it's hard to go to 3-6 on a week where all the teams you're looking up at won.
Exactly. So this would have been okay to try to get that last 6 spot in the AFC, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Well, let's just say it how it is. We're not going to have Vance Joseph as a coach next year. If we do, I will be shocked. We're not going to have Case Keenum as a quarterback, or if we do, it's only going to be like for the first half to tutelage somebody else. So it's pretty much this year doesn't matter. Let's get Cortland Sutton some more reps at wide receiver. But yeah, full tank mode.
And on that note, you mentioned that you thought that D-Tom wasn't going to be a big factor in this game. Early on, I was about to call BS on that, because he did get a couple of huge catches.
Yeah, he had
in
like
the first
3
quarter.
catches, I think.
Yeah, but that was all he got the rest of the way. DeAndre Hopkins was the one guy that was able to break through.
Shocking, right? DeAndre Hopkins.
Shocking, right? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. He's also on my fantasy team.
Well, hey, listen, you figure that you're playing against a quality defense at home. It would not have been out of the question for, I wouldn't have been too surprised if the Broncos actually had him kind of on lock and were double teaming him and forced him to go to D-Tom more often. But that's not the way it unfolded. He found ways to get open, finished with 10 catches. And I mean, that missed field goal at the end really has to sting, especially not getting the extra yards beforehand.
Yeah, it hurts a lot. Bad coaching, bad time management. Also, at the end of the half, they decided to go for a 62-yard field goal with 25 seconds left, in which they missed because it's a 62-yard field goal.
It's like at that point, just go for the Hail Mary. I mean, you could maybe catch them off balance.
No, you punt the ball. This is what you do, people. You punt the ball so you don't give the other offense time to go down and score any points. But Vance Joseph doesn't realize that, so he was like, "Oh, Brandon, why don't you go out there and kick a career-long 62-yarder?" Okay, Vance. Nope. Shank right. okay, Deshaun Watson, go past one completion and get us in field goal range.
There was a little bit more time left there, wasn't it?
Yes, 25 seconds is plenty of time for a good quarterback.
It's the point,
not named Case Keenum, because Case Keenum doesn't know how to apparently throw the ball out of bounds. But anyway.
Well, he didn't turn the ball over here, which I thought it was going to be the death of this team.
There are other ways to be a bad quarterback than just throwing the ball. Well, time management.
True.
Not hurrying up
not a strong suit.
Yeah, it's just...
But he's been throwing interceptions, so at least they didn't have that.
He has 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Tell me if I'm happy about it. I'm not happy about it, Jared.
You don't look happy. You're scratching your beard in disgust right now.
Yes, because I want to move on from this game and this season.
Fair enough. Well, and wait, hold on. Austin, why do you think Houston won this game?
I don't know, Jared. Is it because they gotta win out?
I think so.
I think it's because they #gotta win out.
And since you've been saying that, they've ripped off 6 wins in a row.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
They're the hottest team in the NFL, and I'm sticking true to my prediction that in the preseason that the Houston Texans are going to upset the Patriots in the playoffs, and they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
Which was also my prediction, which is why they gotta win out.
They're not going to beat the Patriots.
They gotta win out.
Yes,
but Chase, Chase, they gotta win out.
You wanna bet?
They gotta win out. Yes.
Done.
Yes.
You know what? Yes. I do want to.
No way they beat the Patriots in the playoffs.
We're gonna go with an ultimate wheel of punishment.
Yeah.
Deal.
Ultimate.
Whatever it is, sign me up.
All right.
I don't care.
There it is. You heard it. Houston Texans gonna beat the Patriots.
Never gonna happen.
Houston Texans, they're gonna win out, and then they're gonna beat the Patriots.
So they're winning until the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they'll win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
No, you said win out. Win out means until the season.
No, I said they got to win out earlier to make the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying they're 100% going to win the Super Bowl because I don't know who will be against them in the Super Bowl.
They're going to lose the Super Bowl to the Rams.
Most likely. However, I'm just saying
I'll take Drew Brees.
They got to win out.
So, yeah, okay.
Chase picks up an L on that one with the Broncos. I pick up a W with the Texans, of course, because they got to win out. And Jared also picks up a W with the Texans with a 19-17 win over the Broncos. Moving on to the Chargers and the Seahawks. I had the Chargers. Chase had the Chargers. Jared said they weren't that good of a team. He had the Seahawks, and the Seahawks lost 25-17. Jared, what do you got on this one?
Well, what I got on this one is that the Chargers... This is a defense that's been very underwhelming the majority of this season because they've been out Joey Bosa. But in this game, they were comfortably ahead by 2 scores pretty much all the way through, and it's because of the defense. I mean, they were just stopping the Seahawks. They couldn't get anything going. They got off to a hot start in the first quarter, and then once Rivers took them on back-to-back drives, it capitalized on a turnover, and they kind of never looked back. I mean, this game wasn't necessarily a blowout all the way through, but like I said, that comfortable 2-score lead, and eventually you got to a point late where the Seahawks, they tried for what looked like a near impossible rally, but had a chance at the end, only for them to suffer an unfortunate drop in the end zone to end the game.
Are you finally going to give me and Austin credit about the Chargers? And stop talking about your damn Seahawks.
Listen, they're not my Seahawks, first of all.
You should treat them like it.
Hold on, listen.
You do, because we've been talking about the Chargers being a legitimate team this year, and every time we say it, you say that they have no chance, they're not that good.
You do.
They're 6-2.
You talk them down all the time.
All right, listen. Going into this season, I actually predicted the Chargers were going to win the division.
Yeah, but the last 4 weeks straight, at least, you've said that they have no shot.
They've been winning, but they haven't been beating great teams.
Have they been winning?
Yeah, they have been.
Okay.
This was the first impressive performance by the defense. First of all, I followed Phil Rivers' entire
career. Which is missing their best player, which is impressive.
Yeah,
they'll only get better.
Which now it is, but before that they hadn't had a defensive effort like this. This is one of those, this is probably their most...
Were they winning games?
This was probably their most impressive win of the season.
What's their record?
Yeah.
What's their record?
Okay, now they're 6-2.
Thank you.
They have changed my mind.
Okay, but why are you high on the Texans then? Because they haven't beat good teams.
Because they got to win out, Chase.
Well, that's because they got to win out. Yeah,
because they have to win out. It's not even an option. They have to win out, Chase.
No, they've got a lot. They got a lot of talent on that team, and I mean the Chargers do too. Listen, between Melvin Gordon, Keenan Allen, Phillip Rivers, I mean, hey, that's a formidable offense for anyone to contend with. They do have the talent on defense. Melvin Ingram, when they get Joey Bosa back, that'll be great.
Casey Hayward.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah.
All right. So then, what's your argument been for the last
they have a good team.
half of the season?
No. They have a good team.
They're not that good. They're not going to win. Meh, 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 meh. Are they winning? Are they pretty good? Yeah. Are they impressive?
At this stage,
okay, so we were right.
They've lost to two teams. The Chargers have. Guess who those two teams are?
Oh God. If I can remember, I don't know. Probably
they've lost the Chiefs.
And what, the Saints or something?
The Chiefs game was at home.
The Chiefs and the Rams.
The Rams. Okay.
So
the Rams. Come on. Who are the two best teams in the league?
Correct.
Okay. So, Jared, were we right?
Yes, you were right. Here's the beautiful thing about sports, everybody. Midway through the season, things can happen that might change my opinion, and now I'm a believer.
I just like being smarter than you.
I'm Jared Silverclate. Changed my mind.
Oh my god! Oh, for crying out loud!
That was incredible.
For crying out loud! Well, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, people. The Chargers are 6-2 right now. They're a very good team.
That they are.
I just like proving you're wrong. So Chargers win that one 25-17. We're going to move on to what I would consider the game of the week, the game of the month, the game of the season.
Yeah.
The Rams at the Saints was one heck of a football game.
An absolute thriller.
I mean, incredible football game. I don't even care that I was wrong. This was great.
There's a lot to talk about here. In the first half of this game, the Saints were absolutely relentless on offense. Chase, I got to give a lot of credit to you.
Thank you.
Alvin Kamara
I was going to say the same thing.
Alvin Kamara, he had 3 touchdowns in this game, but even on the drives in which he did not score, he had plays that were instrumental to moving the chains and getting them in position to score. The Rams really had no answer for this guy. It seemed like every single time he got the ball, he was gaining at least 20 yards. And Breeze was throwing it at will. Another immaculate performance from him. Yeah, fun fact, the Saints are undefeated in Drew Brees' career when he throws for 4 picks and 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Go figure. And they went up 35-14. It was a case of where this game was actually 14-14, and then just 1 or 2 slight mistakes by the Rams, all of a sudden the floodgates open up. But then, in the second half, we see the Rams come roaring back to tie this game up at 35-all. And then Saints offense gets right back on its horse. Rams failed to convert on a 4th down. Turnover on downs late in the game allows the Saints to ice it and run out the clock. So just a super impressive performance by what has been, over the last 15 years, one of, if not potentially the best, I'm not going to quite say the best because the Pats would be, NFL teams at home.
I think that if you could say anything about this game other than that it was an absolute beaut to watch, is that you saw that the Rams could deal with a little bit of
adversity.
Exactly. And they went down to the Saints early. They went into the locker room. Sean McVay talked his boys up. They came out red hot, scored 3 touchdowns, brought the game back. And, the Saints at home, Drew Brees, you just kind of could tell that it was their night. But the Rams didn't back down, and that really should say a lot about their team and should say a lot about their Super Bowl hopes because they were away, they were down, and they fought hard, and I'm really impressed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even though they lost, and unfortunately it is the first loss of their season, so they are no longer undefeated, I mean, it was a heck of a run for an 8-0 start of the season. I mean, to go half the season winning every single game, you're right, 100%. Even though it was a loss, it was an extremely impressive game and showing, even though it resulted the way that it did.
Yeah, and the Rams, their defense, they're going to have, I think that by the end of the season, we're going to get a few more performances against lesser teams where that defensive front really shows up. Wasn't going to happen in this game just because we've seen how the Saints offense gets in the Superdome. It is so loud in there, and Breeze has just so many weapons. He's got so much chemistry with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. That offense is so deadly, and the Saints at this point have staked their claim as the best team in football until proven otherwise because they just beat the previous best team. So it's going to be really exciting the rest of the way to find out who winds up with the top seed in the NFC because these are 2 world-class football teams what we're watching right now.
And to sum that one up, the Rams unfortunately lost their first game of the season 45-35 to the Saints. Chase had the Saints, Jared had the Saints. I picked the Rams to win their 9th game. Unfortunately, I was wrong, like I said, so I will take an L on that one. We're going to move on to the Packers and the Patriots. What could have been one of the better games didn't really turn out to be that great.
It was tight for a while.
Yeah, it was close. I think
to the
it was
end
like
of the first
17-17 until at the end of the first half. This game, I don't want to say that hype killed it for me, but I think it did. I think that I expected more. I wanted the Gunslingers to go out, and it was a good game. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I just didn't have that. They didn't have that
wow factor.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
because
this
teams
was
aren't
Aaron
as good as you'd think.
But this was Aaron Rodgers against Tom Brady. This is the bigger name quarterbacks facing each other in a what could have been a potential playoff setup. Going forward, Super Bowl setup.
It's the Super Bowl that we've been told that we're supposed to get for the last 10 years, and it hasn't happened.
And we never got it.
Yeah.
But, it was disappointing in my eyes. I didn't really enjoy this game a lot.
I think I learned that the Packers aren't that good, and it's only because of Aaron Rodgers that they've even been relevant.
I agree.
I think that's probably...
The team's been bad when he's been hurt.
Yeah, it's just they don't have the weapons. Their best wide receiver is Devontae Adams. The running backs are a bunch of no-names. We're supposed to care about Aaron Jones. I'm sorry, we don't. And
I agree.
Clay Matthews is a veteran pass rusher that just doesn't get it done like he used to.
Yeah, he's I've honestly been surprised that the guy hasn't retired yet. And they've had an overmatched defense for years now. Even that year when they went 15-1, and when they lost to the Giants, they won their last Super Bowl. I mean, even when they went 15-1 that year, they had no defense whatsoever. It's been a problem for them year in and year out. But I gotta empathize with the fact that this game was tight, and then all of a sudden the specialty Foxborough rules kicked in, where a completely unintentional, could not stop the law of gravity, running into the kicker turned into a roughing the kicker, completely different penalty that changes that drive, gives the ball back to the Pats, allows them to go up and never look back. So I feel like they kind of got screwed on that call.
I thought that call was also weird. I'm not going to say it was only because of that call, but based on the rules and based how they've been ruling it for the past couple of years, that looks like running into the kicker and not roughing.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell what the late hit looks like when there's intent, when it looks like the guy's taking an extra step. This was a case of he was awfully close to the kicker as he was punting it, and he couldn't stop his forward momentum. He tries to stop, and he's got another dude right behind him, and he just falls into the guy. That's running into. That's totally different than roughing.
What was really impressive in this game by the side of the Patriots is that Sony Michel and Gronk were both out, and they still put up great offensive numbers at 31, total points, and Tom Brady with 300 yards and a touchdown. Josh Gordon stepped up. Patterson stepped up. There were guys that aren't the biggest names on the team that really stepped up to help them in this win. I mean, Gronk is obviously the biggest flashy name on that offense other than Tom Brady, and Sony Michel's had a ridiculous year so far, and both of them being out was a scary thought going into this.
But Brady still had 7 straight incompletions at one point. He didn't have his best game by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm sorry, I didn't feel like they played their best football. I mean, yeah, they're winning, so people say they're in midseason form, and the AFC is weak, as it seemingly has been every year for the last I don't know how long. So yeah, the Patriots are probably going to get their mandatory 12 wins, but I truly believe that this is the year where, enough. They're not going back to the Super Bowl. I don't want to see them back in the Super Bowl if they happen to make it, because they just don't have as good of a team as they used to have.
Who's stopping them?
The Chiefs, hopefully.
In Foxborough?
The Texans, hopefully. All right, the key is going to be getting them out of Foxborough, which, if the Chiefs continue to win, could happen.
That's exactly what I told your fiance.
Yes, correct.
I'll say this. Listen, the Chiefs, they don't have a defense, but if the playoffs go through Arrowhead, that's one place that nobody wants to play in January.
Correct, yes. If it really, whoever gets the number 1 seed, as stupid as it is, because really the seeding shouldn't be this much of a factor. I feel like in other sports it's not the case, but in football, for some reason, just the past few years, it's whoever's the number 1 seed usually gets into the Super Bowl.
It makes a difference for 2 types of teams having the home field advantage. Number 1, if you're a tough-nosed defensive team, you want the tops, especially if you play in cold weather, because that usually seems to spell doom for those, really tough, gritty, nasty football teams like Denver when they went all the way.
Yep.
Or if you are a dome team, an offensive superpower like the Saints, or not even necessarily dome, because the Chiefs, it's the same exact thing in Arrowhead, where it's just a complete noise tunnel, that stadium. So
that place is insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
So when you have that kind of atmosphere created, that's the home field advantage.
Oh, yeah.
That nobody wants to walk
They
into.
talk about the 12th man in Seattle. I mean, Arrowhead's no joke.
Seattle
man.
would be the same thing.
Yeah, but Arrowhead's no joke. You go into a home field advantage there, and you're 100% right. The Chiefs, I mean, it's, not that betting has anything to do with the actual game, but the fact that, there's 3 points in favor of the home team. You go into Arrowhead, it's 5. Just because of the crowd and how, I mean, the only time I've been there, it was negative 15 degrees. Everyone was frozen, and that place was shaking, not because of the cold and everyone shivering, but just because of the chants and the yelling and the screaming and just the craziness of that stadium. I mean, if the Chiefs go there, no doubt they have a chance with the home field advantage to beat anybody.
No doubt. And right now, we are watching Monday Night Football. The Cowboys, they went up early. They got a fumble recovery, but they blew it. And
they went up early with an Amari Cooper touchdown.
Yep.
That's right. Hello, Amari Cooper.
Hello.
Is in the
Welcome
building.
to Texas, Amari Cooper.
Well, they finally got a wide receiver, but they've allowed 14 unanswered to Tennessee. And both teams they combined for 3 turnovers in the first quarter.
Yeah, it's been pretty ugly so far.
It's been ugly. You got 2 blech teams that are a model of inconsistency each. So, yeah, it's 14-7 with 2 minutes to go in the second. We'll see how it turns out. But before we sign off for this week's episode, I think you guys know what time it is.
Oh, is it that time again?
I think that
it's that time.
I think that it's time for the moment of the week.
All right, big shocker here from me. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. And I'm not going to go with the 51-yard missed field goal because that happens. But I'm going to go with the decision to take a 62-yard field goal at the end of the half. Not with 3 seconds remaining, not with 5 seconds remaining, but with 30 seconds remaining. Putting your team in a horrible position to let up more points. You start them off at the 50-yard line, and they have 30 seconds to get down the field and kick a field goal. We lost by 2 points. That field goal was 3 points. That's my old moment. Denver, get a new coach.
Hold VJ's feet to the fire. I love it. My old moment is also going to go to a head coach. This one goes out to New York, to Mr. Todd Bowles, who gave a glorious post-game interview after his team's latest loss, this time to the Miami Dolphins. So the Jets, they're losing, they keep losing. In this game, they lost 13-6. They held Brock Osweiler to under 150 yards passing. Defense only allowed 13 points on the day. But yet Todd Bowles says, the defense needs to force turnovers. Like they're the reason that they lost. Couldn't have possibly been that Sam Darnold had the football equivalent of the golden sombrero by throwing 4 interceptions. And I thought about using Darnold as my old moment here, but I feel a little pity for the guy. Again, the conditions of the game, not so good. But Bowles, man, are you blind? Are you stupid? Do you feel bad for Darnold? You're trying to absolve him of some criticism here. Be honest in this interview. Don't say that the defense isn't doing enough. They're clearly not the reason that you lost. Just, you could say that, yeah, our defense got outperformed, but don't hold their feet to the fire like, 13 points just isn't good enough. We need a turnover because our quarterback threw 4 picks. Come on, dude. You're a joke. You're probably going to get fired. You should get fired.
And my old moment of the week is going to go to the NFL as a whole and their celebration rules, and that they should really up the stage. Over the last few years, you've seen NFL players step up with these dances and their salutes to Joe Horn, if you will, this week with the Saints taking the cell phone from under the goalpost and running into the crowd and dancing and whatever. They've been a little ridiculous, but I really think they need to step them up. The CFL outbeat the NFL in celebrations this week when the Ottawa Red Blacks offensive lineman, who led the way for a touchdown in their game this weekend, ran to the crowd, kissed his girlfriend, took her beer, and chugged it on the sideline after their team scored a touchdown. Now, those are some celebrations that I want to see in the NFL. So my ult moment for the week goes to the NFL as a whole. You guys really need to step up your celebrations. You need to step up your celebration rules. Shouldn't be any penalties for these things. Have some fun. You scored a touchdown. You made your fans happy. You made a little bit of money. Go a little crazy. Drink some beers on the sidelines.
Alrighty, ladies and gents, that's going to wrap it up for this episode right here, our Week 9 recap. We're going to hit you in just a couple days with our Week 10 preview of all the forthcoming NFL action. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, our new YouTube page. Wherever you're listening, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Libsyn, Stitcher.
And be sure to share with your friends, family, and anybody you know. Share our Facebook page or Instagram page. Retweet us on Twitter. Whatever you can do to let your friends know. If you're enjoying this, give us a review on iTunes. Follow us or subscribe to us, on YouTube and on Spotify. And we just want to give a shout out. We made a post last night, I believe. We actually broke 500 downloads. And that is small in the grand scheme of podcasts. But for us, being brand new into this, it's a big milestone. 100 downloads was very exciting. 500 downloads is even more exciting. And we really want to give a shout out to everybody that's been listening and that's been interacting with us and commenting on our pages, sharing any of the posts that we've made. A very big thank you. And we really appreciate all of the feedback and the fact that you guys are listening in the first place to our podcast. This was something we started just for the hell of it, really. We didn't really know what was going to happen with this. We thought we'd have some fun talking about sports because we talked about it anyways, so why not record it and let other people know? And you guys are really enjoying it, and we're getting some great feedback from it. So please continue to send that feedback, continue to listen, continue to tell your friends and family, and let's give you another shout out at 1,000 downloads and 5,000 and 10,000, and we'll keep going from there. So a big thank you from all of us here at Call to the Bullpen to everybody that's listening and will continue to listen, hopefully. Let us know what you're thinking so far and what we can do better for the next 500 listens.
And with that, this has been Call to the Bullpen.
And we are hanging up.